Now listen, since today I am about to be exposing what is being conspired right now within the music industry and specifically hip hop to try and do some genuinely nasty stuff. Well, now, as the Drake fans, and not just fans from other artists, but stans, are not gonna like what I have to tell them when they find out about how their favorite artists are being manipulated in something that is so much bigger than they will ever understand. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and seriously, I'm gonna need the support today, so just make sure to leave that like. And now, with that said, well, now with the current state of hip hop and everything surrounding it, well, right now, from Kendrick Lamar and SZA's stadium tour going worldwide and never being a bigger thing, GNX being the biggest rap album we have seen in so many years, and even now with Pusha T and Malice with the new Clips album seeing massive critical and commercial success, well, if you look at things from this perspective, for the first time in years, it does feel like you can start looking around the rap world and saying that things are not that bad. Well, now with this, despite how the genre is advancing artistically, as really right now we are starting to get classic records and moments at a pace that we have not seen in a while. Still, what if I told you that this success and the change in what listeners are gravitating towards is what is causing a new set of problems, which really is turning into what is just a full-scale effort to manipulate and sabotage every single artist and name who is playing a role in the recent shift in hip-hop. And now just last week before the Clips album dropped, well, we began to uncover some of the stuff that was happening in terms of the album Sabotage campaign that was clearly going down to try and just mitigate what was an album that was not just coming from other rappers, but of course was coming from a rival of two of the biggest rappers in the game, in between Pusha T versus Drake and then Travis Scott. But also, beyond having rap beefs, what's even scarier than the two of them was this album dropping as an independent release, because it had the chance to show artists everywhere how much authorship and success they can have with their own visions outside of the label system, as long as they are dedicated to their craft and put everything into it. And now, while the Clips has surely done this, and this campaign going on to take down the new leaders in rap failed right here, well, aside from this, things are only ramping up. And to be honest, over the past week, but what we just saw after Nicki Minaj just went off on SZA and Top Dawg Entertainment, what we have now seen is that with this complete campaign to try and rewire hip-hop and just mess up everything that we have seen in the dot era as a whole, is that now really, when it comes to establishing glorified mascots to represent and perpetuate these grand conspiracies which are trying to just change the industry through straight delusion, well, now this entire moment has found its two faces, as now alongside Drake, who post-beef has just been building to this point and getting worse by the moment, as we have seen now his only decent tactic left to try and garner fan interest and keep consistent support is by acting like everything is against him and he is this enemy of the industry. Well, now alongside Drake and his victim mentality, what we have now seen is that after dissing Jay-Z, Beyonce, Roc Nation, and now SZA and Top Dawg Entertainment, well, now Nicki Minaj has once again joined her longtime pal Drake, and they have become a close duo once again. And I am sure we will see them really reconnect soon at this point, because now they are two different sides of the same thing. Because really now, with what both of them are doing, and even with how Nicki has just begun to network with Drake's remaining friends like Aiden Ross, and even how now she's just lifting talking points that his fan base just kept going and going to try and take down Dot, SZA, and the rest of the people on the right side of hip-hop. Well, now ultimately what just happened is Nicki went off on SZA and Punch of TDE over what originally was really nothing and then turned into so much more. In the bigger picture of it all, it's that the lame old law-loving owls have now united with the Barbs, because aside from Drake and Nicki being on good terms, well, their rivals are all the same people based on the way Nicki and Drake have both been steering them. And now I'm not going to go into the back and forth that Nicki and SZA had in full, because there was just so much noise in this back and forth that really just contributed to nothing other than just more chaos. And to be honest, unless you really care about the insults that were thrown back and forth, that's really all you need to know, because aside from the personal insults coming SZA's way from Nicki, and then SZA responding by just putting into perspective how she is the more successful artist in terms of numbers, well, then Nicki continued to go on with her conspiracy stuff, which when you see her even try to level claims against Doechii, which also started this thing, and now she lost monthly listeners, which seems to be this talking point that she got straight from the Drake fans. Well, you really do start to see the bigger problem with this all, and also see exactly what Drake is doing on the other side of things, which is what we just saw when we looked at his breakdown over the failure of his song What Did I Miss to go number one, because again, with anything that takes away from these artists' success or helps a rival who they don't like, it's never that the other person worked hard or they did something that got people to actually support them, but it's that there's this weird play that is cheating the system, and ultimately this leads Drake, Nicki, all of their fans, and anybody who is easily receptive to conspiracy-slinging grifters to just support these ideas more and more and believe that the industry is against them and overall. What this ends up doing is creating more of a divide in hip-hop that is all around pushing this idea that the Drake run or Nicki's success was stolen rather than the fact that other artists may have just won over people and fans fair and square, which now, once again, for Drake and everyone around him, this all does resemble something a little too real, which I hope you have all picked up on what I am talking about, but seriously. Well, now as we are seeing this movement get bigger, which is involving behind-the-scenes sabotages and then just assembling all gullible fans and listeners together to try and create this massive pushback against rivals over nothing. Well, this is all headed to a bad place, I'm afraid, and when we look at both the artists turning against these other artists and things they have, but then also the plays to sabotage something like the Clips record. Well, now for all of these rappers and artists, this started out with not liking another artist or person, or for Nicki, well, the rant she has gone on against Jay-Z, Beyonce, Roc Nation, and SZA probably started with an MTBTTF, which if you know what I am talking about, and now that's a double entendre, and shout out to Pusha T and Clips. But seriously now, beyond just having beef and not wanting to grow up and ever face reality, when we see the main people within this beef and era have all been around Roc Nation and everything they are doing, whether it is Jay and Beyonce, Kendrick and SZA, who of course did the Super Bowl with them, and then Clips, who Roc Nation distributed their album as independent artists. Well, what I do think is interesting is that in this time where there are more suits and tension in the industry and decisions being made on how to limit creative freedom and keep the labels in the lead, well, now, while Roc Nation is a brand that is not small and is tied to some bigger players, still, in terms of the labels who have always catered and controlled the flow of music releasing on records and how artists can move to a level, well, Roc Nation is offering a lot of people in the industry an alternative path, and clearly it is working, because if we look at the Super Bowl or the Clips album as proof of what they are doing, and to be honest, just see the direction Jay-Z is taking things, you see that a lot of things are working here and it's only growing. And really now, while we hear that Roc Nation is the one to blame for any bad thing in the music industry from this side of people who keep just blaming everything on everybody but themselves, let's just look at what we know, because again, they throw all these claims out there, but there's never been anything that's actually put against them. Is a brand that is letting independent rappers who were suppressed by the labels like Pusha T and Malice get in great deals and then independently release an album just like what we saw a bad thing? And again, is getting Rap to the Super Bowl a bad thing? And even with Jay-Z running this whole thing, is giving an actual artist a chance to lead the industry forward a bad thing, especially in hip-hop where rappers had to wait so long to even get at the table as a whole? And again, when you just think like this and see what Roc Nation actually does beyond the ridiculous conspiracy slop and not how these fake detectives present all these things to try and just make the most ridiculous point you have ever heard, well, again, you can see that just with a lot of these groups which have these weird, angry, disgraced grifters leading them, they don't actually look at things for what they are objectively, but only for what they want to believe them to be. And now with Drake and Nicki just leading this forward, and then of course you have guys like Aiden Ross, academics, and all of these other streamers and cloud chasers pushing this forward, because when presented with surface level information they know nothing about, they will take it as fact and build into a whole narrative that they can just grift with. Well, again, what we are seeing is that no matter what forces are really behind this movement to make hip-hop's big three, Drake, Drewski, and Aiden Ross, as a collective, these people just want to see the current faces of rap fall off because they don't like them, and on the label side of things, it is only getting much worse, and to be honest, well, now Drake and Nicki together is only going to annoy us more and get us to see moments that we won't even be able to stand. What is even scarier in all of this, and what really showed me that something much bigger is at play here with all of the chaos, is that now as we are seeing the Drake lawsuit happen and see all of the drama around trying to get people to talk and who Drake and who UMG wants to show up in court and speak. Well, now when you see that one of the 9 people that UMG requested to the court that Drake started includes Kendrick Lamar, well, this is bad, and to be honest, even on the side of the industry, despite how much Kendrick Lamar has carried and helped everybody out, I think that even with a rapper as big as him, with all of the problems that Drake has created with where this thing is going, well, now the labels may not be Drake's friend anymore, but they are also not Kendrick's, and everybody should have been able to see the writing on the wall when Clips could not drop chains and whips, because to block and suppress a feature from a guy in the music industry from the biggest label out, Well, again, as Kendrick is one of the top 3 most important artists in this entire thing, as between Taylor Swift, who runs pop, Morgan Wallen, who runs country, and then Kendrick, who runs rap, this is what makes up the major markets. Well, again, just to see them not letting a song from a guy who leads the sector of the industry that has the biggest market share out really does tell you that there are some issues, and of course, the whole situation that went down with Push and Kendrick. And really, when we just see this and where it's going, it just looks like there can be a lot more terrible things going on behind the scenes. Because again, now with clear requests to try to get Kendrick and Dave free in court, well, what we are seeing is that if Drake's label has to, they will knock off whatever artist in this situation to help their overall being. And so if the Drake lawsuit ends by blaming Kendrick for everything, well, the label will do this because then it's off them, which is literally what they told Drake, which was to go after Kendrick all along. But when we see all of this stuff just happening now and when we are at, and again, from fake narratives to people coming together to think that rap was stolen to now the industry, which is even starting to move against Kendrick Lamar and everyone around these guys overall. Well, really, as this is what's happening because these stars just got way too out there and now they want to make their problems everybody else's because they are just not accepting the eventual fall off gracefully like past eras artists did a lot better. But I think we are also seeing more annoying stuff than ever, like what we just saw with Nicki Minaj and SZA. And again, when you see that at the end of this all, even if Drake and Nicki win while they think they're on the right side of things, all they're going to do is take away creative expression and make sure that the labels stay in the place they are. Well, it's impossible to not just root for Kendrick, Push, Jay, and everybody around them because in a long time from now, if we are still getting great rap music down the line for years to come, well, it will be because of the way they stood up for the genre and made sure that nobody can mess with it. And so now with all of this said, let me know. What do you think about what's going on here with the industry, with everything around Drake and Nicki, and how there is this effort to take away from Kendrick, Jay, Push, Roc Nation, and everybody else? And what do you think is really trying to happen here? And what do you think the ultimate goal is? And who do you think is really in charge? Now, I can't wait to hear what you have to say about all this. And now, if you made it to this point in the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. And now, if you want to see how right before this, well, Drake just had a meltdown over his song flopping, and speaking of Pusha T, I just had the chance to actually meet him in person. Check out the suggested video.